Today I'm going to show you a dish that means a lot to me. It's something that I grew up eating, and it's actually a very simple dish. So you start out with some chicken. I'm using one whole chicken that is about 1.2 kilograms. I've cut it up, and all I'm doing is rubbing it with some flour and salt. So my mom taught me this trick. She told me that when you rub the chicken with flour and salt, what you're doing is actually exfoliating the skin and basically lifting all of that from the meat and removing excess blood as well. So once you rub it into the chicken really well, you can start rinsing the chicken in water. So you can see how murky and how bloody the water is getting. So this step is really important when you're making things like Cantonese soups or Cantonese steamed dishes, because for Cantonese cuisine or Chinese cuisine in general, the purity of flavor is really important. So once you're done with rinsing the chicken, you can transfer them onto a colander, and we're going to set that aside. We're going to do the same process for some dried black fungus that we have soaked in hot water. So basically rub the flour and the salt into the rehydrated black fungus and rinse it. And you'll see that it's really clean and really shiny. The other thing that you'll need to prep is some ginger. So I've smashed this with the back of a knife. Some people also like cutting the ginger into matchsticks, but I don't like that because I don't like biting into the ginger when I eat the soup. Another thing that you'll need for this dish is really good quality wine. So here I'm using glutinous rice wine. So now we start the soup making process by first chucking all of the meat into a pot. You want to use a wide pot that can accommodate the chicken in a single layer, and set that on high heat. After a while, you will see that the fat is starting to render from the chicken, and also the chicken is turning opaque and light golden in some parts. So flip it with your tongs to help it cook evenly. So once the chicken has turned opaque, what we're going to do is add some salt, and we're going to stir fry it for another few minutes to allow the chicken to absorb the seasoning. So this is an important step because even though this dish is technically a soup, we are also gonna eat the chicken as well. So the chicken has to be seasoned. You'll be able to see some emulsified chicken fat and juices at the bottom of your pot. So now transfer the chicken into a bowl. At this point, the chicken is not completely cooked, but we're gonna set that aside. Now in the same pot without washing, we're going to add some sesame oil. We're going to fry the smashed ginger that we prepared earlier. So starting in a cold pan, we're going to set this on high heat. So just fry the ginger until it takes on a really nice golden color before we add the chicken and the juices back into the pot. Now we're going to add enough water to barely cover the chicken. I've used about 1.2 liters of water, but depending on the size of your pot, you might need more or less. We're also going to chuck in the dried black fungus into the pot, and we're going to bring this up to a boil. So cover this and allow it to cook for 5 to 10 minutes or until your chicken is completely cooked. After 5 to 10 minutes, the broth should taste really good on its own. And we're just going to check the doneness of the chicken. So I like using this cake tester, but you can use a fork, even a chopstick. So as long as whatever you're using goes through the chicken easily, you know that the chicken is cooked. So now we're going to add our glutinous rice wine. And because the flavor of the wine is actually the main flavor of the soup, you don't want to boil it for too long. So just bring this soup back to a boil before turning off the heat. So this soup is a great one to make and to consume, especially for females, whether it is right after their period or during confinement, or even if you're someone who suffers from cold hands and cold feet, basically poor blood circulation during the winter months, then this is the dish to make.